Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now this is quite a large but quite a beautiful piece of laburnum. I've had it a little while. It's been sat in my shed gathering dust, so I think it's about time we did something with it. I haven't turned a vase for a while, so that's what I think we're going to end up making. Now, initial problems we've got is there's two cracks on the pith areas on this crotch area. There is some evidence of cracking along this side. The base is pretty much fine, but the other major problem we've got is its shape. This side is quite narrow, this side is quite wide with a bit of a bulbous area on here, so it's going to make turning quite an interesting prospect. Like I say, I do want to make a vase, but what shape it's going to be at the end, I really haven't got a clue. Now, we do have a discrepancy in angles between where it was cut off here and here. So that's the thing I want to tackle first. Now the obvious way to sort this out would be to take a chunk off here, parallel with that top edge, like that. But the crack in the pith area here makes me think that I might be better off taking it off this end. It'll hopefully help me get rid of a bit of that or investigate it further, but also it'll allow me to use a bit more of the length here, so it gives us a taller piece. So it's going to have to be something in the magnitude of that. Right, I'll get this over to the bandsaw, take off this corner, and then we'll come back and see where we go from there. Okay, there we go. I think that's sorted out our problems. We've got a nice parallel top and bottom, or fairly parallel. That crack we had on the pith area there and there are nowhere to be seen. So that is absolutely excellent. Right, I'm going to get this on the lathe and then let's get started. Okay, we're all nice and safely on the lathe. I've got this lined up through the main centre of the piece, so this area here is slightly wider than here, but it is square to the rest. Now, as I say, this is a bit of a strange piece, so exactly what shape we're going to end up with, I'm not quite sure. Also, bear in mind that this is laburnum, so I am going to be wearing an air-fed mask throughout turning. But apart from that, I think we can get started. I've sharpened up my 1/2" ball gouge, and we can start turning at a shade under 600 RPM. Okay, that was a pretty nice start. I managed to get up to just under 700 RPM towards the end there, so that gives me a lot more confidence in how well balanced this piece is. I've just been initially turning away the main trunk area. We do have to create a tenon on here at some point soon. I stopped around this area because I wanted to start working in on this wider wing area, this wider crotch area, and just see what the wood does around here, because I don't want to waste any opportunities for an unusual shape or some nice figure. So I think we'll just quickly move on to this top wing, or this top wider area, start working this round, and we'll stop soon after we're making contact with both sides. So we've got to come in about 1 inch. Okay, so that's got us to where I wanted us. We've now cutting the top of both of these wider points. Now the next piece we've got to start worrying about is this kind of area here, because as you can see we're cutting here, not anywhere near there, nowhere near at all for this area, and slightly closer for here. So we've got to figure out what kind of shape we're going to put in here that hopefully won't detract it too much for what we can do. It'd be very, very easy just to go straight up and make it all round, but that wouldn't give us any natural feel to the piece. So what I'm thinking is I'd really like the top of this to be very uneven, and we've got lots of dips and hollows that when I start hollowing in, hopefully it'll take these edges down and up and around. So that's what I'm hoping is going to happen, and I think the best way to create that would be to take in these sides in and then back out again. Okay, so we're getting round all around here and then fluting out to the top. That will be shaped interestingly when we start hollowing out. It may not look like I hope, but there's only one way to find out. Okay, we started to angle this in a little bit more, and I really like that shape. Now, I always mention about not missing opportunities, and I've kind of left this rim here because the idea occurred to me that rather than creating a smooth shape from top to bottom, it may be interesting to investigate a kind of like an edge on here. I'm not quite sure exactly what form it would take, but I do want to just try a little bit more to see how it would look. I think for it to balance, it would need to come a third of the way down, so about there, this curve, and then the lip being around here. It may not be a good idea, I'm not quite sure, but let's just investigate. Okay, I've just stopped myself going on to the next stage because I'm feeling that if I create an edge here, a proper edge, then it would look like that this top is kind of flowering out of the vase for the rest of it. So I think that's the kind of look I'm wanting to pursue. If it looks horrible, then we'll change our minds and do something else. But I think the next step will just be taking this angle a little bit until we can start to cut this area here and then create a proper lip around there. I haven't quite managed to convince myself that this is the correct way to go, but I think it's an interesting enough idea to pursue a bit further. So I'm just going to bring this shape in a little bit more to a slightly wider base. Base is going to be around there, I think. Okay, I am starting to like it. I am starting to feel slightly more comfortable with the shape. This bit, I'm not so sure about. Having the bark on this edge may detract from the final visual impact, but I'm still willing to progress a little further. Whether or not we take everything in, squeeze it all in until this is a nice clean line, but that's gonna take it in quite a lot, isn't it? It might be nice to leave the bark on. We shall see. Now, I think for this to have the correct visual impact of something within a different vase, I've got a feeling that this angle here we've got on this top bit is too, it needs to be almost straight in. So I'm just going to quickly do that. I think I'll use a skew or something, probably my carbide, just to see how that looks. Okay, I think that looks a bit better now. It looks like the top of a vase, which is what we're aiming for. Right, I'm just going to take this in a little bit more to try and reveal on this away from that bit. I don't want them joined. So I'm going to take this angle in a little bit more, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. I think I was going to sharpen up again first. Let's take a look. Okay, I've got a bit more separation there, which is good. I'm feeling slightly happy with that now. Right, what do we do now? I think we get the base shape how we want it and start creating a tenon. Okay, I'm really starting to like the shape of the base. It's given me more confidence now with how this top area is going to look, and I've got a few ideas as well what we can do with it. But now I'm going to go and have my lunch, and we shall continue later on. Okay, I've had my lunch and we're all ready to start it again. Now, first job is to get this tenon turned down to the correct size so we can get it in some jaws, bring out the steady rest, and we can look at starting to hollow out. Okay, we're all set up with a steady rest. This is going to keep us nice and safe while we're going in with the Forstner bits and then when we're hollowing out. Now, we're going to be using the full length, that was pretty much everything we've got in here to try and get to the bottom. We're not going to go all the way because we are going to have some problems hollowing all the way down there. So we'll go in probably to the end of the Jacob's chuck and leave it at that. Starting off with a smaller bit and then working up through the sizes. Okay, that all went well. I'm just going to leave this alone for a little while, let it all cool down. The inside temperature in there is nearly up to 50 degrees. And the bits we were using, about 73 degrees. Yeah, hot stuff. Okay, this has cooled down enough now to start hollowing out. I'm going to start off with the Hope hollowing tool. This has got a little 6mm bit on there which really helps cut away this end grain nice and quickly. Although saying that, it's still going to take an awful long time. When I get too far in and I can't handle this length anymore, or the depth, I can add the extension handle to it, which overall should give me enough stability to reach into the bottom. Now, I've never hollowed anything quite this deep before, so this is going to be quite interesting. Okay, I've been hollowing for about 20 minutes and that's the progress we've made so far. We're starting to break through on the edges now, which is good. Hopefully all this is going to come away all the way around here, but I see an awful lot of this in my future. I'm not going to bore you all and make you watch all of it. I'll cut a lot out, but I'll leave in the key moments. But this is going to take a while. That's another hour of hollowing. We've done pretty well, I must admit. We do have a very stubborn area from about there downwards. So I have ordered a few slightly wider Forstner bits just to widen that area down towards the bottom. It's getting dangerous for me with the tools I've got. I'm running the risks of quite bad catches, and that's the last thing I want to happen. So we'll quit with that until the Forstner bits arrive. Now, one thing we can do is, during this hollowing, I was hoping I was going to lose a bit more of this. I don't necessarily want to make this any thinner because it's already quite thin. So I'm going to take out a couple of cut sole bits and grind away a lot of this bark area to try and leave a more natural edge on it. The two flat areas, I'm just going to put a slight radius on the edges and then down the sides, so it kind of fits in with the style, but I think that should look, hopefully, quite nice. Okay, this is the rotary burr I've gone for. It's quite a coarse one, so hopefully it'll make fairly short work of this cutout here. I mean, initially intending on going along the sap line, so we remove the bark but leave this white line of white sap there, and the same on this side as well. I think that would be quite nice, give a nice edge to it. that's going quite well, but it's quite slow progress. It would take an awful long time to do these. So I'm going to quickly get out my jigsaw and cut it with that. Okay, that was excellent. Right, when the Forstner bits arrive tomorrow, we'll sort out the rest of the hollowing, and then we can start sanding, I think. These straight edges here, I will put a gradual curve on them just so it blends in more with this shape. But overall, I am a very happy guy. Excellent. Right, I shall see you all tomorrow. Okay, the next day, two of my bits have arrived, the 65mm and 75mm. Unfortunately, the 80 didn't come. That's going to be a few days' time, so we'll just make do with these two. Now, my extension shaft won't fit on this type of bit, so we're going to have to use the full length of the tailstock and extend this as far as we can to get to the bottom. Right, see how we get on. Okay, I think that will do nicely. I'm just going to get a little scraper in there just to blend that straight edge into where it starts to curve out. But apart from that, that's good. Okay, I think that's about as good as I can do with that. The last few bits are all going to have to be done with sanding, I think. Now there's one more thing I want to do before we start sanding. Now we've got this illusion going on of this shape coming out of this vase. I think just to help keep that level of belief, I'm just going to, with this small carbide tip, just come in just to put a small groove going in to where the top of the vase would be there. It's a bit of a risk. It's not the easiest cut in the world, and also it's going to be a horrible thing to sand, but I think it'll just help set this part from other pieces. Just an extra little detail which I think people will appreciate when they see it close. I think that was the most nerve-wracking cut I've ever made in my entire life. Right, okay, I'm going to set up for sanding. We're going to do the whole thing together. Inside first while we've still got the steady rest, and then we'll take it away and do the outside. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I shall bring you back when we're done. Okay, I know you've only seen a few seconds of it, but that was about an hour and a half to sand. Right, on with some isopropyl alcohol. It's all worth it though. On with some isopropyl alcohol just to help clean all the dust out the grain. I do love this wood. might call this the Kraken. It's like an opening mouth and a couple of eyes. I love it. Right, we'll let this dry and we'll come back, and I think we'll put a sealer on it first before we do anything else. Okay, that's had plenty of time to dry, so I'm going to go on with a shellac sealer. I'll do the inside first, I think. I'm putting on with a brush because there's so many hard to reach areas in here. And little crevices which it would be a nightmare otherwise. But look at that. It's so completely worth all the effort. Okay, right, I'm going to let this dry. I think I'm going to give it a second coat before we come back with the abrasive paste, because there's an awful lot of bark on here from the sapwood as well, which is really sucking in this shellac sealer. So I'll give it a second coat and then I'll bring you back when we're ready for the abrasive paste. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so we're going to go on with an experimental abrasive paste as well. Dean, this is 1.6. We're doing some by hand and some mechanically because of these dip areas. You can't necessarily always hold a cloth against it while it's spinning. I'm not going to attempt to use abrasive paste all the way down to the bottom. That'll be a foolish thing to do. Also quite dangerous. Okay, I'm going to wear a face shield just to stop anything spattering my eyes. Okay, as usual, I shall clean off excess with isopropyl. Right, we'll let this dry. I think I'm going to use a full strength shellac to finish it off. Okay, it's nice and dry, so we'll just give it a final coating of shellac. Okay, right, I'm going to let this dry. I shall then part it off, have a bit tidy up, and then I'll bring it back and we'll take a look at our nice little Kraken. Well, there you go. A nice, tall, interestingly shaped Laburnum vase. Size-wise, this is 15 inches tall. It's 8 inches wide at the top, down to about 5.5 inches at the base. It's hollowed out down to about 12 inches, so there's 3 inches at the base, so it's nice and sturdy. I didn't really want to go much deeper than that because the tools I've got to help get me in that deep, well, they're not designed to go that far, let's put it that way, but we did do the best we could. Laburnum is one of those woods that if you sand it and polish it right, it just has the most amazing chatoyance, and the figure in the wood is really quite unique. It never disappoints. The overall style of the vase, I really like it. It reminds me of a Kraken. And if you're not quite sure what a Kraken is, it's basically a fabled sea monster. And I can always see it in these two eyes here and this kind of opening up of the mouth. If you see something different in there, then please let me know in the comments below. I'm really pleased to put in this little detail here. I think it just adds that little bit extra to the piece. It makes you kind of think about this being a separate entity to the vase itself. Ever so often I get these little glimpses of ideas, and I always find it best to listen to them because they generally know better than I do. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one, but if you have enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. Don't forget that if you do leave a comment, you are going to be entered into the giveaway when we get to 40,000 subscribers, which hopefully isn't too far away. One more bit of news. Due to an awful lot of comments from people wanting to buy my work, I've decided to put a few up for sale, so hopefully people can get them before Christmas. If there's anything you've seen me turn in the last few months that you would be interested in, then let me know, and if possible, I will make them available. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.